Hey guys, it's Casey and welcome back to my channel. Today is a very rare occasion in my life in that it is 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I am currently at home on a day that is not a Friday. Typically, I work from sundown to sundown. I work 80 hours a week on a normal week. And so being at home at this time of day on my one not day off a week is unusual, but I have some stuff that I need to work through today, both professional and personally. First and foremost, if you watched my last video before I put it on unlisted, I have received a research grant by accident. I have received a $20,000 a year research grant for a 2-year period to research parasites. And as part of that research grant, last Wednesday, so a week ago to the day, I received a package at my hospital of 300 cryo-frozen tapeworm eggs. And I have been informed that I will receive a further package of 300 cryo-frozen tapeworm eggs in exactly 3 months' time, which is not fantastic because I applied for this grant on a whim. I was not expecting to be granted it, and I don't even remember what that whim was. So I have been racking my brain for the last week trying to come up with some kind of research question that I can make use of these children with. And I think I have narrowed it down to one, or at least one idea. And so this afternoon, I do want to sit down and actually unpack that idea a little bit and see how much it can actually be put into reality instead of just a brainwave. And so that's the first thing that is my priority. And the second reason that I have taken the afternoon off is that I really need to sort my shit out. I have been in, frankly, an acute state of mental distress for the last at least 2.5 months, and it has really been detrimental to my health and the health of people around me, which isn't great because, again, I run a hospital. I am the senior doctor at a hospital in the middle of friggin' nowhere, and so when that reflects badly on the people around me, a lot of things can go wrong, and a lot of things have gone wrong over the last 12 weeks. And so I need to sort myself out as well. Now, are the two things related? Probably, because I think if I had been in my correct state of mind, I would not have applied to study parasites, which is an area that I have no interest in and have never had any interest in, other than the fact that my greatest desire in life is to be a parasite behind my best friend's mother's eye, which is not as crazy as it sounds, and I'm not going to unpack it here. But in general, certain things have just hit me like a freight train over the last couple of months, and I think it has a lot to do with me trying to dip my toes back into my culture a little bit and embrace that more than I have over the past 11 years that I've been living in the modern West. And so I've really been forced to come to terms with the fact that my entire life has just been stripped away from me. Everything that I had and everything that I knew has been stripped away from me. I have no children anymore. I have I've got this house. I can't say that I don't have a house, but I don't have the house that I wanted to live in, that I plan to live the rest of my life in. I don't have a culture really anymore. I am forced to embrace the deity of the chicken nugget like everyone else. And so having that realization, even though I've been here for so long, I have just been in a complete and total state of disattachment, which again is not great for a doctor. I mean, obviously I still have a medical license, which is great in one way, but in the other way, I didn't want to be a doctor to begin with. It was never what I set out to be, and it's really largely the reason why I'm in the predicament that I'm in the first place. What did I want to study? I don't know, because I never had any other option than to study medicine. And so it's really what I'm doing today is that Nate asked the question, and he asked, well, if I had never gone to war, what would my life look like? And frankly, it is a big question to ask, and it's something that I've never sat down and thought about before, because he did make the point that if I wanted more children, we could have more children tomorrow. If I wanted a house built of marble and he truly thought that that would fix all my problems, then he would build me a house built of marble. He certainly has the resources, the financial resources to do so. But as he said, he doesn't think that that's actually going to solve my issues, and I agree with him. And so I need to sit down tonight and just have a think of what the answer to that question. Had I never gone to war, what would my life look like? I don't know, but that's what I'm going to figure out tonight. But first and foremost, there are a couple of things that I need to do. Some homemaker things that I need to take care of before I can deep dive into any of that stuff. The great fragrance debacle for my birthday gift is now officially over. I received word from the agents Briscoe on Sunday that they have now officially ordered me 4 full bottles of perfume of my choice. I was only expecting them to order 1 or at max 2, 1 each, for my birthday, and so it was a nice surprise. So they said that they had each ordered me 2, and I can't complain, so they have ordered me B, which is this one that I'm about to use up. It smells like honey. They've ordered me Zoologist Cow and Zoologist Harvest Mouse or something like that. I don't know why they've ordered me that one. It's not a sample that they sent me, but apparently they've been spraying the samples as well at the same time that I have, and they really, really like that one. And so they think that I'm going to like it, and they ordered me a bottle of it. I'm not sure how I feel about wearing a perfume that is favoured by a couple of dorky grown men with matching names and haircuts and suspiciously shiny foreheads, but I don't know. When it arrives, I'll smell it and see what I think. I hope it's good, because I'm going to be stuck with a full-size bottle of it regardless, but the last perfume that they ordered me is Born Screaming by Troskov, and I'm happy with that whole indeed. That does leave me with a full jar of perfumes that I'm never going to use. Cal said that she will take them and use them, but I'm not convinced that she will, because some of these just are not wearable in my opinion, but we'll see. Goodness, look what they want me to do. They want me to do everyone, like you can tell by the state of the piece of paper how much I care about this, but they want me to do everyone who works permanently at the clinic a staff review, and then me and the owner will sit down together and determine who gets a pay rise from it. But I'm not looking forward to it. I have to do it next week. I'm not looking forward to it at all. Because I'm going to have to put on my serious mask, which I hate doing in the best of times, but I just know that when Nate answers these questions, are there areas of your role that you believe could be expanded upon for the benefit of the hospital? That he's going to answer something funny, and I'm going to have to pretend that it's not funny, even though it is. Anyway, chuck this over here. That is a problem for future Casey, immediate future Casey. Casey in the next coming days will have to really take a closer look at that and determine if all the questions on there are adequate for what we need them for. But like I said, that is not a problem for tonight. The problem for tonight that I really, really want to work on now, while that's all cooking over there, is I want to sit down and really lock in to my research project, and at the very least I want to finalize what the research question is going to be, what I want to answer over the next 2 years, if I choose to go through with this, which I still haven't decided if that's on the cards or not. I mean, they've paid me, but what can they do if I'm not going to do it? I'll give them the money back. I don't care about that. But I have some ideas. I have some thoughts. I think if I can get off the ground, it would be really, really great. But I have to look at the logistics of that and the reality of what's in my head and how that can be translated into physicality. I don't know. But that's what I'm going to do right now while that's cooking. We've got about 2 hours to kill. And then once the research question is done, I will come back and we will unpack it together so that you know what I know. Okay, I have done what I set out to do. I have come up with what I feel is a workable research question for me, at least at the moment, moving forward for the next couple of weeks. I will probably adjust it here and there to see how we go, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's pliable, it's workable, it's moldable, and that's really all you want at an early research stage question. And so the question is, do prion-like domains exist in stress response proteins of diagnostic parasites, and do they mediate heritable, non-genetic phenotype switching across host-to-vector transitions? That is my research question, and I'm excited to research it because there are some things that we already know. We already know that there is a lot of structural overlap between prions and parasites, but I don't think anyone's ever actually done a deep dive into, can we infect a parasite with a prion disease? And that's kind of the direction that I want to take it in, because we do know that all parasites, or at least when active within a host, already have their own native protein with a prion-like folding domain. And that means that something has to trigger the parasite into a self-propagating misfolded state. So what happens when you infect a parasite that already has naturally that reaction with a misfolded protein, an infectious, invasive misfolded protein that in other species induces that effect? Are they immune to it? Are they not immune to it? Can we do something with that genetic material? I don't know, but that's what we're going to research and that's what we're going to find out. So I am jealous of your trauma. I am jealous of your sexual assault. I am jealous of your mother's cancer death, and I am jealous of your child drowning. I had this epiphany a couple of days ago while I was watching videos, and I came across a video of a woman who was explaining that when she was younger at boarding school, she had been sexually assaulted in her dorm room by the janitor. And then 10 years later, she successfully sued the school for damages. And then she goes on and she starts showing off everything that she brought with her settlement. So she had brought a bunch of Buffy merch and every Buffy comic that had ever been made. And I watched this video of her showing off all this Buffy merch about 7 times because I just found it so perplexing. Not of her getting a settlement, because in the vast majority of cases, I actually think that victim survivors pursuing civil lawsuits is actually both more empowering towards the victim survivor and punitive towards the perpetrator than criminal court. The part that I found so baffling was not the Buffy merch, it was the fact that she could just get on camera and say, when I was younger, I was assaulted in my dorm room by a janitor, and everybody just let that be. They let it be known fact. It wasn't something that had to come into question. People weren't in her comment section asking the who, what, when, where, and how of the event. She just got to say it, and from the tiny amount of information that she gave about it, people had enough information that they could fill in the gaps and form their own image of exactly what happened. I have never been able to experience that ever, not even just in front of a camera with an open comment section that's anonymous. No, even just in general life conversations with other people. I have never had the freedom to sit down and say with my full chest that I am the victim of multiple wartime rapes that were intended as punitive measures towards my husband, including one that involved my friend's amputated hand. I can't say that without being expected to then morph myself like a magical girl into old lady Rose, recounting the entire maiden voyage and tragedy of the Titanic. My comment sections are not filled with people singing me praises about how brave I am and how I'm such an inspiration, and if they could just take my pain away and carry it as a burden on their own shoulders, they would in a heartbeat. I don't get any of that. For example, I posted a video a couple of months ago on my YouTube channel detailing my experiences as a 16-year-old girl in the midst of a war. A total war, mind you. Not a civil war, not a border conflict, a total war. I pumped that video filled with minute details down to the graphic descriptions of the scent of burning flesh. And do you know what the comment section on that video looked like? Do you think that the comment section coddled me in any way, shape, or form while Wind Beneath My Wings played gently in the background? No, of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. It's actually like super annoying that you mentioned this one very specific thing at one very specific moment, and then you didn't return to it and expand on it any further. OMG, I was totally watching the first 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan while listening to your story time in the background, and it totally enhanced the experience. You were actually evil, because if it had been me in that situation, none of this would have ever happened, because I wouldn't have allowed it to happen. Even if I had to walk out into the battlefield myself, throw my hand out in front of the tank and say, "Stop!" And it's not even like it is a strictly online phenomenon either, because when I was living in England, my handlers at the time had the great brainwave that they were going to send me to a rape support crisis center. So I went along to the center because at that point in my life, I had no real control over anything. I had to go wherever they told me to go, and that's where they told me to go. So I went. The center did my intake and they enrolled me into a crisis support group, which was a group of about 14 women just hanging out and talking. As I learned that day, and I have learned time and time again since, there is a specific breed of victim survivor who get really defensive and insecure if they perceive that your trauma is objectively worse than their own. And so despite me being there and being a good, empathetic, well-listening team member of the group, when it became my time to talk and introduce myself and my circumstances after about 37 minutes, they didn't like it. They did not like it one bit. And so instead of sitting in my pain and discomfort as I had graciously theirs prior to my time to speak, instead I had to do the emotional labor at the bequest of the group facilitator to instead coddle the rest of the group and reassure them that their experiences are still valid and their pain is still true, and that no one's experiences are any worse than anyone else's. And then, as a cherry on top of the cake at the end, they kicked me out. Once the group had finished, it had concluded for the session, the facilitator and the center manager came over to me and told me that they did not feel that they had the adequate resources and training to address my needs, and so that they were strongly advising that I seek help elsewhere, which is ridiculous because I don't actually have that many needs. Like many victims of maximum adversity, I am comfortable talking about my experiences with the exact same vocal cadence as if I'm talking about the weather, which ironically is one of the reasons why I am so resentful. Actually, it's probably the thing that I'm most resentful about out of everything, because I do not get to have breakdowns. I do not get to be triggered and have panic attacks and refuse to leave my bed for weeks at a time. Even when they told me that my child had died, I got like 5 minutes to process it,
for myself. And then I had to get up and move on because there was literally no other choice. I had no other option but to get up and move on, because nobody likes to talk about what an extreme privilege it is to be able to have a nervous breakdown, to be able to scream and cry and just stop functioning altogether. Every single morning of my life, I wake up feeling like I am the mother in the dinner scene of Hereditary. And what can I do about it? There's nothing that I can do about it other than suck it up and put on an empathetic face when people come to me crying, tears in their eyes about all the horrific traumas that they've gone through. I could contribute to my own story, but I don't do that because what is the point? They do not like it when I do it. So people come to me and they tell me that their mother died of cancer. And I can't tell you how my mother died, because then the story stops being about your mother's cancer death and starts being about my mother's death. And so I have no choice but to suck it up and live in silence.